You are in the temple of the rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by becoming one of those. This one's for Elusitary, who says, I'd like a rant about extreme temperatures. You mentioned that you don't want to move to Austin because of extreme heat. Personally, I find heat much easier to tolerate than cold. P.S. Still think you would love it out here. No income tax, baby. First of all, is that true? Why didn't I hear about this before? Because one of the things that we talked about when me and Nate were trying to find like the best place to move was what is the best tax situation for people, working self-employed. And he had contacted his aunt, who is a accountant, and they ran a bunch of numbers, and they had concluded that the tax situation was best in Austin. But I never heard nothing about no income tax. So if that's true, that's fucking crazy. I wish I had known that. And also, it wasn't just the heat that's why I didn't want to move to Austin. It's mostly the fact that it's all the way in the Midwest and I don't know anybody there, and like I would have been really expensive to move out there. And Virginia Beach just seemed like a way safer, easier option. I still intend to spend the next few years traveling to different cities and looking at stuff, and if there is a place that I find that I would rather live, I might still move there. But depends on the way things go. I'm taking my sweet fucking time because I am not desperate to leave this place like I was the last couple of places I lived. But in any case, extreme temperatures. I am fucking sick and tired of the meme that cold is better than heat because you can put on more layers of clothing, but you can't take off your skin. People say this all the fucking time, and it's retarded. Because you can't put on enough layers to make it through the really extreme cold. When it comes to heat, there are certain places in the world that do get ludicrously, insanely hot. But for the most part, comfortable temperature for human beings is like between 65 and 85 degrees. Like, that's a comfortable range for me. If it's in the 70s, no matter what, 70 anything, great, excellent, feel amazing. If it's in the 60s, it's a little chilly, but, still feels nice, depends on how much sunlight there is. If it's in the 80s, well, might be a little hot, but if there's a nice breeze rolling through, feels good, right? Almost nowhere in America is it frequently going to be above 90 or 100 degrees. Like, there's here in Virginia Beach, in the summertime, it's in the 90s somewhat regularly. It's not that bad. The humidity is worse than the heat itself. If you live in a place where there's high heat but no humidity, from what I hear at least, it's a lot easier to deal with. So when you breach 100, it does get to that point where you're like, I don't want to go outside. It's too fucking hot. But like, you can stay in the shade, you can grab an umbrella, like there's ways to mitigate it. It's not so difficult to live in. But when it comes to the cold, there's no bottom on it. When you live in the north, it's not just 20 degrees colder. It's like 60 to 80 degrees colder than 70 degrees. Like, you are out every single day through the winter. It's like the high is maybe 50 and the low is 0. So you go outside and it's not a matter of put on one extra jacket. It's like wear 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of pants, 2 shirts and a coat and a hat and maybe a face mask and some gloves, and you might not feel cold. But it can even get colder. It can get cold enough, like, if you think about Antarctica or something, like, you got to go out there with specialized gear because you can't survive in that much cold. Now, consider the following. In the summertime, if you go, let's say it's 100 degrees outside, right? So you are in your air-conditioned house where it feels like a nice 70. You're like, cool, feel great. You step outside. You're in a t-shirt and maybe even a tank top, and you've got some short shorts on, flip-flops, not even wearing socks. You've got sunscreen on, maybe some sunglasses, maybe a hat, to visor your eyes from the sun. And you go from the house to the car, and in the car you turn on the AC to maximum. Takes a couple minutes for the leather to stop burning your skin. If you're depending on how hot your car got, where you parked it, maybe you parked it in the garage. You don't even have this problem. You get in your car, you turn on the AC, you have at least a mildly comfortable drive to your destination, and then you step into your destination, and the AC is running there too. Oh, you went to a restaurant? It's nice and chilly. Have a nice lemonade. Come back home. Sure, you might not want to go for a walk because it's kind of punishingly hot. Maybe you're a little uncomfortable on the way to and from the car, or for the first few minutes of the car getting warm. Now let me compare that to what it's like in the snow. It's 20 degrees outside. You put on 4 layers of clothes, and then you go outside and dig your car out of the snow for 15-20 minutes. You're shoveling stuff off your car. You have to shovel the driveway to make sure there's a path for your car to get out. And then you get in the car and you have to wait. You turn on the defrost and you wait 5-10 minutes for the sheet of ice blanketing the front of your front windshield to thaw. Then you're also waiting for the car to heat up. When it gets hot enough, now you're in a car wearing 5 layers of clothes and you're burning up because you have the heat blasting. So you're uncomfortable. But if you turn down the heat, then your window will fog up because it's still cold outside, and now it's colder outside than it is inside. So now you're worried about the fogging up. You've got this shit on full blast. You tepidly drive your car down this icy road. Hopefully they plowed it, but even still you might slip in certain places, especially if it's just starting to snow. Different scenario than the one we're in, but there's different ways that your car can be fucked up trying to drive on an icy road. You get to your destination and you walk into a restaurant and the heat is on. Well, you're wearing 6 layers of clothes. So now you've got to take off all these extra layers of clothes. You can't take off your extra layers of pants if you're wearing those, but you can take off your extra coats and shit, and you have to find some kind of chair or receptacle to dump all this bullshit onto. But if you're just going to the store, let's say you're going to Best Buy to shop, well, you better shop quick because you're going to get real fucking uncomfortable wearing 4 layers of clothes in this store with the heat on. Now that you're not out in the Arctic cold, but you got to have all that shit when you go back out there. You understand how this is way the fuck worse? It's way the fuck worse. And again, you can't necessarily put on enough clothes to be comfortable. Yes, in the heat, it's unfortunate that you can't take off every layer of clothes, but you're also not going to go for a walk in the snow in your 6 layers of clothes. And maybe you will if you're real desperate for a walk, but you're not as likely to even go outside. In both situations, you're just going to stay indoors. But in one situation, you're going to go from one comfortable indoor to another comfortable indoor. And in the other, you're going to spend 5 times as much time and effort to be uncomfortable in 2 different places. Extreme cold is way worse than extreme heat. And if you don't think so, you're not thinking.